Elizabeth Crawford Sonier was born in Medford, Massachusetts on September the 11th, 1906.
Sonier graduated from Tufts University in 1928 and began teaching at Black River Academy in Vermont just after the onset of the Great Depression in 1929.
Sonier began teaching in the Winstead school system in 1932. That year, the teachers had agreed to a large pay cut as the country was still gripped in the Great Depression.
I signed to work for $1,400, a year after the teachers had just taken a 15% pay cut. It was a decision I never regretted.
By the mid-1940s, Sonier would even see her high school orchestra disbanded because so many of her students were away fighting in the Second World War. Undaunted, in October of 1944, Sonier had an idea to bring a nationally respected conductor together with music students for a week of rehearsal during the summer when school was out of session. She shared her dream with music educators from across Connecticut. While everyone agreed on the amazing benefits it would provide to students, colleagues told her over and over, "There's no way we can do this, Betty. There's a war on." Elizabeth Sonier wasn't a woman who cared much for hearing the word no. In 1945, she gathered music educators who believed in her dream and rented cottages at Carey Point on Highland Lake in Winstead, Connecticut.
In June 1945, the posters read, "Choral Clinic, Carey Point, 3rd Bay, Highland Lake."
To feed and provide for the students, she garnered donations from butchers and dairies, grocers, and local businessmen. Staff members even donated stamps from their gasoline rations to bring Noble Kane, the man who would be the camp's first choral conductor. Some students rode bicycles into rehearsals. Some camped in the cottage or in tents in a nearby field. All the obstacles lined up exactly as everybody said they would. But Sonier's camp happened anyway. After the first camp in 1945, staff member Mary Lane would write, "Having accomplished that little bit, we sat there on our last morning together, storing up in our memories the beauty of the scene before us. The lapping of the lake seemed to say, 'All is well.' A cool breeze tossed the waves which gurgled under the abandoned raft near the pink laurel bushes. Across the lake, pine trees stretched skyward from a rocky cliff. On our own shore, birds echoed back and forth in the gently rustling birches. Then and there we decided that, look where we might, we could not find a more beautiful spot in which to establish an annual summer music camp. Nor could we find a more appropriate name than the Laurel Music Camp. Nestled under the hills with our own Connecticut laurel in full and beautiful bloom. There we had seen a dream come true, and there, God willing, we would see it continue to flourish." During the first historic week, a local resident of Highland Lake, Mr. Walter Davy, having heard the students rehearsing, would row his boat over in the evenings to take in the choral performances. Davy was active in the local Boy Scout Council. In March of 1946, Davy and Sonier gathered at Wercomen Boy Scout Reservation with Tunxus Boy Scout Council member Prosper Lavieri and Scout Executive Merle Hildreth, along with the president of the Connecticut Music Educators Association, G. Albert Pearson, and board member Doris Rayner. Through the generosity of the Scouts, Wercomen would be the new home for Sonier's dream.
The Laurel Music Camp needs to know, the people who participate in Laurel Music Camp need to know the legacy of where the roots are. What is the heritage? Who was Elizabeth Sonier?
Choral students Ted Vile Jr. and Russ Nichols were the culprits behind christening Sonier with what would become her iconic nickname. Vile would credit Nichols as being the primary student responsible, saying, "Russ first started calling her Mom because of the way she looked out for us. I was the one who shortened it to Ma."
The love always came out with her. She always had love, because we were all her family, all of us.
She was just a wonderful, wonderful lady. She always said she never was married, never had any children, but she said every year I have about 200 kids up here in the woods at Laurel Music Camp, and that's my family.
And so we were her family. We were her children.
Ma was a very dedicated, compassionate lady. She was eloquent and she was loving. I think you know by now that she considered Laurel Music Camp her family, and all of the participants, all of the campers as her kids. She treated people that way. The love of those people was inbred in the way the camp was structured, the way people were expected to interact together. And she also had that infused in her expectations, not only of her staff, but on the outcomes of what she wanted the kids to take away from their experience.
Shirley Height is another Winstead resident who attended Mom's first camp. "We had a ball doing our numbers under Mom's strict guidelines," she said. "She was a no-nonsense person we all loved."
Ma was the camp for all those years. And even today, camp still moves along in the same ways and same manners as Ma had it being run.
She was camp. There was no question that this was the woman, that this was her life, this was her home, these were her kids, this is like really, I think for the most part, everything that she ever really wanted to accomplish. I mean, she accomplished so much in her life, but I think that this really embodied all of that, of everything that she really wanted.
"I was always married to the music and my job. I just wanted my students to be as good as they could be."
Everybody expected her to be just a calm little old lady, but when she got her dander up, which we all saw at one time or another, it was like Hurricane Ma coming through the camp.
Ma had such a presence, in a very fond way, a domineering presence.
But everybody loved her, everybody respected her. And I can honestly say I have never heard anyone say a bad thing about her.
She was a lovely woman. She was very loving and kind, and
also terrifying.
Also terrifying. She was very strict. Like, don't cross Ma. You got to do a new look.
If you like spoke out of turn, or if
during announcements,
if announcements were going on and like you spoke, she would just go.
And that was that.
"I remember she said, 'You move up to the first seat,'" Mr. O'Brien said. "Why did you move me to the first seat?" Always quick and still the teacher. She snapped, "I ain't telling you."
You know, a lot of people have heard this story before, but I was crying. I was already homesick. And all of a sudden, this arm came around me, and this sweet feminine voice said, "Hey, what are you doing down here? My parents left, and I think I feel homesick and I don't know why I'm here." She said, "Listen, you're not going to sit here hanging onto a tree, crying, feeling sorry for yourself. Get up on the playground, meet some people, talk to people, tell them who you are, where you're from, why you're here, what instrument you play, or what voice you sing." And she said, "You're going to have a great week at camp." And then she did something which nowadays we could not do. She gave me a swat on the backside and said, "Now you get up there on the playground and you have a good time, and if you have any problems at all, you come and see me. My name is Ma." And that was the first time I ever met Ma.
Well, I guess I was scared of Ma like everybody is for his first time, until you get to know her. She's a wonderful woman. She was very strict and very opinionated, but had her act together. And the kids loved her. She was a lovely woman.
I always thought every kid should have a musical education. My affinity for music began when I was a 5-year-old piano student.
She was a loving, God-fearing woman. Certainly very forthright, very motherly. I mean, we all called her Ma. You're going to hear that over and over from whomever you talk to.
Through the years, Laurel Music Camp has boasted some of the nation's most skilled conductors, each of them honored to add their name and talent to the shining legacy of Laurel Music Camp. Conductors like Ruben Gregorian, John Raymond, and Moshe Paranoff. Paranoff, co-founder of the Hart School of Music, conducted 9 times at Laurel Music Camp. Loving the experience so much, he established a scholarship that is still awarded to this day.
Uncle Moshe, they called him. He was the founder of Hart College of Music. Dr. Moshe Paranoff from Hart College of Music, yes.
What started out as a music teacher's dream had grown into one of Connecticut's most respected institutions for young musicians. Laurel has been proud to have hundreds of the finest music educators from across the state of Connecticut on its staff. One such educator, Watermelon Joe Seufer, is credited with establishing 2 of Laurel's most enduring traditions. On the Thursday evening of each Laurel season, the students enjoy a camp-wide dance. One of the first years of this celebration, Seufer got together with a friend who owned a truck, loaded the truck with watermelons, and brought them to the dance. Every year since, Laurel Music Camp serves watermelon at their dance in honor of Watermelon Joe Seufer. Seufer summed up Laurel's powerful mission with 3 strong, simple words that inspire each day of camp. They are more than a slogan, more than a motto. With 3 words, Joe had defined the purpose of Elizabeth Sonier's dream.
In my experience with music, I've come to understand music to be a universal language that everybody understands. Wherever you come from, all walks of life, they understand music. You can feel music and just understand it. No matter what language you speak, if you don't understand the words, you can still feel the motivation behind the words. And that's kind of what I think of when I hear the word fellowship through music. All of these people from all walks of life being able to come together through one universal thing that just brings people together, and they feel together and they love together, and it's just all kinds of different ways to come together as one people.
Those 3 words really sum up what Laurel Music Camp is about.
There aren't many places in the world today when we're asking the young people to have respect, to have a work ethic, to have camaraderie capabilities with their friends, and also to sit down to a meal and sing grace. That takes a special type of young person to incorporate the ideals that many people think at this point are antiquated.
Fellowship through music, the logo, the motto of Laurel Music Camp is something that is inbred and is a living statement here at the camp. Fellowship through music occurs because just the way things are organized. Ma was a person that wanted people to make friends, and that's why when you come into the dining hall for the first time, you don't sit next to anybody that you know. These people that are sitting around you, in front of you, on the side of you, are sitting at that table deliberately because Ma thought that people should make friends and should share the experience of camp with other people that they don't know. And fellowship through music is something that just the way it's set up, and also the ingredient of having the music part of the whole process is really the thread that holds the quilt together.
I think there's a special fellowship that only happens with music. That's the big reason I developed this camp.
When you come here, you don't know anybody. You know, you got the raccoons, you got the mosquitoes, and you don't know anybody, and you meet people. And you're meeting people from all walks of life. And it doesn't matter. You accept everybody for who they are because they're here for music. And if you're a music geek, well, that's the best place for you. It doesn't matter the person, doesn't matter, male, female. You're just happy to be here with people who love the same thing that you do. And with this camp, based where it is, this is like a fantasy world. Yeah, it's just a magical place, very magical.
Fellowship through music. The beauty of that whole philosophy and the statement is everybody has this one thing in common. This one thing in common. And music is so broad. And obviously we have 4 ensembles, but it's so much more than that. And everybody comes from a different place and from a different school system and different parts of the country. And we still have that one thing in common, and that one thing is music. And to me, that's what Fellowship Through Music is. Everybody can bond over that one thing. It doesn't matter what you play, what you sing. It doesn't matter how old you are, where you come from. That's the one thing that everybody has in common, and everybody can make conversation about, and everybody can share in that beautiful moment that is music.
We're here to be together.
You make friends here that in the outside world you probably would never speak to.
They're making new friends, and many of these friends will be for a lifetime.
Well, Joan was kind of like Ma's right-hand person. She was involved with the camp in a variety of different ways for a long period of time. She, as I say, she was one of the building blocks that Ma used for different capacities. But she was one of her strong advisors, along with Terry O'Neill and Uncle Ray, and several of those people. But Joan was kind of the part of the triumvirate, and she was very dedicated also to the program.
Joan Haffey. Joan was here when I first got here in 1969.
I wasn't born then.
No, you weren't born then. So she kept things in order. She was kind of stern. You never knew if she was really mad or not, but she was a hugger. So, you get your daily hugs. It's unfortunate that Joan, can't be here, but it's something that she's a very special part of camp. She's a very special part.
She happened to be one of my favorite people in the world. She was so dedicated to camp. And when she got to be the director, I was delighted. What else can you say about Joan? She was Laurel Music Camp.
Just a kind lady. Even when we were little kids, she wanted to make sure that we had a pleasant time at camp and everything was going smoothly.
Joan, by many of us, could be the second mom. I mean, same thing. She was part of the Connecticut Women's Federation that Ma belonged to. She and Ma spent a lot of time together, doing things for camp. Making sure we had a facility and, helping out maybe if we needed help finding conductors. I could see a lot of Betty, Sonia, and Joan Haffey. She cared so much for the kids. She wanted them to have a good experience.
Bill was probably destined to someday replace Ma as the director of camp. I think she was kind of teaching him all the ins and outs.
Another guy who was really a hard worker. I mean, he gave his all. And there came a time when I had been assistant director to Ma for 20 years. And I knew that she was getting on. She was quite elderly, and it wasn't going to be too much longer. And I did not want to be the camp director. 1 week during the year with my busy schedule was fine. I didn't want to be doing all this stuff. So I'm looking, how can she goes, wait a minute. This Peters guy is really fantastic. If I get out of here and make him assistant director, he'll get some experience and then he can take over. Which I thought was a brilliant plan. The only problem was fate.
He had a way of making people laugh, even though they didn't want to.
Absolutely.
I mean, he'd see a crying camper and he was like, no, 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 no.
Ain't gonna happen on my watch.
And he had this energy that I think is what made him such an incredible music educator and an assistant director, but
And
first
dad.
and foremost, yeah.
He's a good dad.
You know, first and foremost, especially here, you know, being a music educator, he loved his students more than anything in the world.
For sure. And they loved him.
He was the funniest, most upbeat, supportive, encouraging individual. Everything about him, he always had a joke. He always had a smile. He always was right there being involved.
I met Billy in camp. He was somebody that was always fun, always had a joke going on, always had something going on. Bill, a very intelligent person, just someone that you wanted to know. You laughed with him, you cried with him. He was the assistant director of camp, and just an all-around great guy.
Bill Peters was one of my best friends of life. I miss him so much. He's a funny guy. I mean, he lived life large and laughed a lot. He just took whatever was dealt to him, and he would work magic. You know, he's one of those icons of camp. But he would do anything for any student that ever needed help.
Mostly what I knew about him is that he really put his heart and soul into everything that I saw that he did, whether that was music, whether that was conducting, whether that was raising his kids, whether that was raising us camp kids too. And he was just fun, and he was so lively, and it's heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking that we lost him the way that we did. Just because you realize that you lost such a positive influence and a positive person for the camp and for this world, and a great dad and a great husband. And so you want to be happy and celebrate his life, but you can't help but be hurt at the same time because of what happened so tragically and so suddenly.
Knowing that he left a legacy behind, you know, what a feeling as a daughter, knowing that your father was a part of something bigger than himself.
It touched so many lives. It changed so many lives.
And coming here and hearing the stories and
I learned something new about Dad almost every year.
Every year.
And I'm like, I didn't know he did that. They're like, oh yeah. Like, I won't share some of the stories.
Some names are a little inappropriate. But you know, overall, knowing that you have those genes in you to leave something behind and leave a legacy.
And great t-shirts.
Such great
Don't
shirts.
forget to do great t-shirts.
I don't think there's anything more valuable to have, you know, as someone who lost a parent, to have so many people around you that can tell you about him.
Elizabeth Ma Saunier's legacy thrives on the same scenic scout reservation she picked out in March of 1946. The clothing may be different, and the hairstyles a little bit funny, but in each of the old photos, one can see musicians, just like today, dedicated to continuing Ma's mission. Much of the current senior staff only knows Ma from stories and pictures, but her strength and love are qualities that have resonated powerfully through generations. Laurel Music Camp is honored to have the responsibility of keeping her dream alive and to share it with a new generation each year.
I was told once that the most important people are those who help other. So I would put Ma in that category of most important people because she helped all of us to appreciate not only the wonderful experience of music, but to appreciate nature and to appreciate others and to love others and accept others, and to be able to take all of these strangers and put them in one spot and create an incredible family for 1 week of the year, which, as we all know, doesn't last for 1 week of the year. It lasts forever.
I mean, you can just get so real and raw and vulnerable here. So I hope in the future we can keep that. I hope we can keep that sense of being safe, being who you are,
Yes.
And being able to kind of unapologetically be yourself here. I think that's the beauty of this camp and the future of this camp is teaching kids that it is okay to be who you are and have this passion for music, and not to let anyone tell you that it's not realistic.
Outside of camp, interaction is very minimal with other kids my age because everyone's buried in a phone. And you get to camp, everyone is genuinely interacting with each other, and it's like camp back in the 90s. And we all just get to hang around and talk, and it's a different experience to everything outside these forest walls.
So they did a job on me right from the beginning. I loved it my first day and continued to love it right to the end.
Ma's not lost. I can't believe you make me cry. Ma's not lost. The very fact that we're here, the very fact that we're doing this, she's here. And what she did was create this incredible love for music and love for others, and was able to instill that into all of us so that we want it to continue, so that she will never be forgotten.
I've always said that if every kid had music in their life, there would probably be a lot less problems in the world.
Think of me as your kind and loving uncle. Blink, blink. Think of her as your mother. Call her mom. Blink, blink. Have yourself a ball at camp, though it be sunny or be damp. And come and run your fingers through my hair, you dimpled darling. The two rules are love Ma and don't kick Uncle Ray. Not sure. I hate everybody.
I'm sorry.
Everybody.
That's the 91-year-old coming out.
Especially
They're all
the
a bunch
music,
of rotten.
especially the rotten music kids.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.